Hey, Brandon from Cornerstone Performance back. We are still at Vet Lab, day 2 of testing. We wrapped up all the dyno stuff yesterday, made some other changes. We are back, we are good to go. We'll talk about some dyno results real quick. We'll link some videos right here. And yeah, so we got the car on the dyno, got everything swapped out. Obviously, like I talked about in the last video, we swapped turbos. New turbos went on good. Had to make a few adjustments to the cold side. We got back on the dyno. Car made about 850 wheel horsepower on wastegate pressure, which is, we have 10-pound springs in it. So a little bit under where we saw with the larger turbos, but I will add in that the car was spinning on the dyno, so we were making pulls to about 6,400 RPMs, about 5,500 RPM. The car would just blow the tires off. We had the stock wheels and tires back on it to kind of do perfect A to B test over the other turbos. Tried strapping it down harder, tried lighting the tires up, tried everything we could. Didn't work, couldn't get the car loaded hard enough on the dyno to make a full pull to really start turning it up. But we saw what we needed to see on the dyno, which is good. Turbos are responding perfectly with what we wanted. Again, obviously we were dealing with too large of a turbo and we were having spool issues as far as lag goes. And obviously coming from a PD blower going to a twin turbo setup, there's going to be a little bit more lag in there, but we're trying to decrease as much of that as possible, with still being able to make 1,000, 11, 12, 13, 1400 horsepower, no problems. So I will share the size. We went from a 67-73 turbo to a 68-62, so we tightened down the exhaust housing in hopes to help this thing spool off the line, build boost on the 2-step and all that good stuff. Good news is it absolutely worked. It's working perfectly with how we want it. So we have a billet wheel, 68-62 on there right now. I think it's a 0.85 or 86 AR housing on it. On this Demon right here, this is Matt Zerber's Demon, we are dumping the exhaust to the ground because we didn't have time to excuse me, we didn't have time to finish it to tie it back into the stock exhaust. Our production kits will have the option to either dump it or tie it back into the stock exhaust. Yeah, so other than the turbo change, obviously with our testing with, I'm going to call it V1, this is V2 now. Our version 1 of the prototype kit, we had some oiling issues with the turbo drains and our scavenge pump on how we had it set up. We moved the scavenge pump to the front of the car, changed up our drain setup a little bit, wired in some turbo timers and some relays, and routed some hoses a little bit differently. We are not battling smoke problems anymore at the top end of the track, or any of that stuff, which is good because no one wants to smoke out their neighbor's house or whatever. So yeah, so we changed all that. We're still running same hot side, same cold side, same intake, same injectors, a little bit of same everything. Again, our goal with the kit is to have it 100% bolt on for anybody that has a stock car. You get fuel system injectors, bolt this kit on, go make 1,000 horsepower, go make 1,100, whatever your tuner is comfortable of, making and pushing your car to, whatever you're comfortable pushing your car to. This is a 100% factory stock Dodge Demon. It is stock motors, stock cams, stock heads, stock trans, stock converters, stock axles, stock suspension, stock everything. It literally has our hot side, cold side. Again, we're running a Holly Sniper intake, has our custom catch can, Turbo Smart wastegates, Turbo Smart blow-off valves, and yeah, that's about it. We wired in the Stage 6 Motorsports 2-step, doing some testing with that, and yeah, it's, so far we're seeing what we want to see. All right, so we're here with Ed. Ed is the owner of Vet Lab. Big performance shop. Obviously, they do some Corvette stuff. They do a little bit of everything. There's actually a Challenger sitting right behind you that you may or may not see in the video. But Ed, I wanted to get your opinion to tell our viewers what is your opinion on going to a bolt-on twin turbo kit over the PD blower that comes factory on the car?
So like early on with Hellcats, a lot of the community ran out of horsepower with the stock supercharger initially, and then so for a while the trend was like a red-eye supercharger, And then, some of the companies got into porting the stock superchargers as well as porting the red-eye supercharger. The ported red-eye supercharger it had a lot of problems with bearing issues and some other things. The reliability wasn't all that great.
Mm-hmm.
The next step after that was the 3-liter Ripple, which is a good modification for sure. We've done a couple of them. But at the same time, the 3-liter Ripple is for sure limited on what kind of power it can make. Whereas a turbo setup, you can do any size turbo you like, right? So you can tailor the turbo to whatever you want to do. You could road race the car with the right size turbo, but obviously drag racing, half-mile events, 1-mile events, you're not limited for horsepower, number one. Number two, the amount of stress that a positive displacement blower puts on a car is alleviated with a twin turbo setup.
Yeah.
So you can make the same amount of power with less stress on a stock bottom end engine in particular. So there's a lot of advantages to turbos. Inlet temps are another. You can tailor your inlet temperatures by using air to water, like this car uses. Whereas on positive displacement, you're kind of limited as what you can do for modifications.
So on our Cornerstone Performance bolt-on kit, obviously this is the prototype. What is your thoughts? Obviously you've been along for the whole ride since the beginning, and we appreciate that. What are your thoughts on what we're seeing now over what we saw round one?
Round one, the car made ridiculous power on the dyno. The power came on in a linear fashion for sure. It certainly creeped onto power.
Yep.
We also saw it come on in a linear fashion at the drag strip, right? So we would see like literally almost half track before we were making full boost.
And the car was trapping mid 140s with like a 2.5 60 foot.
We actually saw upper 140s on one pass. And honestly, that was with having some intercooler pump issues.
Oh yeah, so let's talk about that real quick. So this car, when we swapped everything over, Hellcats are notorious for it. We airlocked the pump. This car went to sick week and ran without any flow to the air to water setup all week. I'm not going to talk about the IATs that we saw because it's probably not good practice.
We set a record. I'm sure.
We definitely set the record for IATs. We went back to the drawing board and we're like, is the air to water core too small, or what? Something's wrong. So we got it back for V2 to put the smaller turbos on it. We found that the pump was airlocked. We got it working. Now it's been on the dyno. I mean, we're seeing, and obviously this car being a Demon, it has the factory chiller. It's working great now. We actually feel the lines getting frosted up and seeing 20-degree intake temps, or intake coolant temps, I should say, and that's working. But back to the track. So the car was making decent power on the dyno. Couldn't get out of its own way off the starting line. Still made a couple good mile-an-hour passes for what it was, but how much horsepower do you think that was pulling up top, seeing the IATs that we had?
I mean, just to guess, 150 wheel horsepower, easy 150 wheel horsepower.
Yeah, so I mean, this car should hopefully, and after we were literally done talking about this, the car is getting loaded up on the car hauler to head to Vegas, the 20th for Roadkill Nights. It's at Las Vegas Speedway.
Correct.
Or Motorsport Speedway, whatever. We'll be there Sunday testing. The 20th is, I think, the actual race day. We'll be there, and hopefully we can throw up a cool number with the setup and see what happens. After we see what we need to see at the drag strip, obviously there's never enough testing that we can do. Obviously we want to do as much of that up front as we can. So there'll be some more street stuff involved, but we will probably start taking pre-orders on this kit in, I would say, 2 to 3 weeks, maybe shorter, maybe longer, depending what kind of results we see. And obviously we're going to try and tailor the kit around everyone's personal wants and needs. I'd like to make a one kit fits all kind of thing, but everyone's goals and preferences are a little bit different. But we'll do our best to try and fit everyone's needs within one kit, and if people need to get crazy and we need to change up options, we can do that. We have not nailed down a specific price point yet, but it will be competitive to what is out there. Speaking of what is out there, we are the only ones that are going to be out there that has a true off-the-shelf twin turbo bolt-on kit that is not running it through compound boost with your factory supercharger. My opinion, and I think data speaks for itself, that they are restrictive at a certain point. and we want to be obviously as efficient as can be without throwing a huge amount of boost at it to make power. So look forward to that. Peyton will put a link down below to sign up if you want some more information on if you're interested or not. We can kind of keep you up to date with what's happening at Vegas and what we're seeing, and if you have any questions on can we tailor something to your setup, the answer is probably yes, but just let us know, and yeah, we look forward to it.